Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Write LGBT Characters and Why You Should Anyway. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about writing non-binary characters who can, through magic or science or being an alien, change their physical form whenever they want to, or have their physical form changed out from under them. So I read a story once a while ago where there was a character who would wake up in a different physical body every day, so they were still the same character but they'd wake up in a different physical body, and they would just kind of roll with it, and their gender was very malleable because they woke up in these different forms, which was really cool to read. But it brings with it some complications that I think we should talk about. I'm not giving any prescriptive advice here. Well, I sort of am. I'm not saying that you can or can't write a non-binary character who can change their physical form, whenever they want to, or have it changed casually and at random. What I am saying is that there are things to consider when you make this choice. On the one hand, as a non-binary person, as a gender fluid non-binary person, I would love to be able to change my physical form whenever I felt like it. It would be the dream. I cannot even begin to explain how amazing that would be. Yeah, I'd love to be able to change my physical form so that people stop misgendering me, basically. That's the dream. That's the appeal of it for me. And for a lot of other non-binary people I know, it is that pushing well outside of the expected gender or the gendered expectations of a physical body. So making it so that you have contradicting gender markers, making it so that you have no gender markers at all of those kinds of things. For a lot of non-binary people, the idea of being able to change our physical forms whenever we want to is a dream. It's wish fulfillment. If I write it into a piece of media, book or a short story, it will be because I want that wish fulfillment. I want to be able to imagine what it would be like to be able to change my physical form whenever I wanted, and be able to have people respond to that in a positive way. The other side of this argument, the side that is less fun, less wish fulfillment, is the knowledge and understanding that we will never achieve that. As much as you can have gender affirming surgeries, gender affirming hormone treatments, gender affirming, I don't know, I guess other things, it's not the same as being able to change your physical form whenever you want, because you have to go through all of these processes to get to that point. So I have had a gender affirming medical intervention stuff. I've been through a gender identity clinic. And it takes a really long time. And that was years ago now. I started that journey in 2014. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of assessment, and it takes a lot of kind of convincing to sort of get them to let you have what you want. You don't just go into a gender identity clinic and be there hello, I would like this intervention please, and they go, yep, we'll just book you in for that. It's not like that. When I went for my, I'm not going to talk about what I had, but when I went for mine, it was, you had to come to at least 3 appointments, 2 of which were with a psychologist to assess your mental state on both of those, and to make sure that that particular psychologist, or those particular psychologists, because it's meant to be 2 different people, thought that you had thought this through, knew what you were talking about well enough, had socially transitioned enough. So social transitioning is where you come out to everyone around you. And you need to have proof of that, so if you can email someone, I highly recommend it. But yeah, that is such a huge part of it, and it took 2 years before I got any intervention. I don't begrudge it. And I don't begrudge the amount of hoops you have to jump through. I think it's a lot of hoops, but I understand why the hoops are there, which makes it a little easier. Because it's that thing of, once you've had some of these interventions, there's no going back. Other ones you can basically just go back to normal afterwards. You can be there like, oh no, change my mind, I want to stop. And it doesn't linger for very long, as it were. And again, I absolutely don't regret it. I'm so glad I got the opportunity to do this, because it has made my life so much better. I'm so much happier in my physical form than I used to be. But I'm still not happy in my physical form. I still have gender dysphoria. And while I never have gender dysphoria about the thing that I had intervened with, which was the thing that was causing me the most gender dysphoria, I still have it. And it's that thing of, I was just talking about dysphoria now, and it's that thing of looking at a non-binary character in a piece of media who can shapeshift can be quite a stark reminder of the fact that it takes a long time and potentially there is no intervention that will help you assuage your gender dysphoria. And this is the conversation, is those are the two ends of the spectrum. Wish fulfillment and stark reminder. It's getting to, if you think of it like a cake, it's like reading a book that has a really great description of a cake in it, and you think, oh, I'd love to eat this cake, and then you get to the end of the book and it pops out fully formed from the end of the book, and suddenly you have the cake that you were reading about. Or in a more realistic example, it has the full recipe and instructions for how to make your own version of this cake at the back of the book. So you can make your own one. And you get to enjoy that cake. And on the other end of the spectrum, it's reading the same book with the same really glorious description of that cake. And then when you get to the end of the book, it pops out fully formed in a locked plexiglass box. So you can see the cake, you can smell the cake, but you can't actually access the cake. It is outside of your touchstone. Or another example would be that you get to hold the cake, you smell the cake, you bite into the cake, but actually it's soap. And you're like, this is not cake, this is soap, and I now have soap in my mouth. And that's the issue, is that there is no way to guarantee where any non-binary person, or trans person, because they can also be affected by this in a very similar way, binary trans person, there's no guarantee as to where a person will sit on this spectrum at any given time. Some days it might be the best wish fulfillment, and you can imagine a whole world in which this could happen, and you get to like picture what it's like, and you get to eat the cake, but only at home. Or you might bite into the soap or be stuck with this plexiglass box. And it can happen either way. It can start out as cake, and then as you get through it, it starts tasting more and more like soap. That is the difficulty, that is the challenge of writing non-binary characters who can shapeshift. Because it is both of those things at once. And for some of us, it is literally both of those things at once. It is literally wish fulfillment and dysphoria inducing at the same time, and that is a very strange experience to have. It's like, have you ever been to a memorial service? Because at all the memorial services I've been to, you spend a lot of time joking and laughing and sharing really fun stories about the person you've just lost. You spend a lot of your time getting really happy and like enjoying the life they had with the other people around you. But you still feel really sad because you've still lost a person, and it's kind of like that. You're having a lot of fun, but you also feel bad. Like that's the best comparison I have for wish fulfillment mixed with gender dysphoria. So it's just my advice to you if you want to write a non-binary character who can shapeshift is twofold. One, really think about it and bear this stuff in mind, because it's important. And two, and two, add another non-binary character who cannot shapeshift and is not jealous of the fact that this other non-binary person can. Because it does a couple of really wonderful things if you add another non-binary character. One, it further saturates the market with non-binary characters, which again, we really do not have enough examples of. And two, it allows non-binary people who don't want to be able to change their physical forms whenever they want to find some camaraderie with a non-binary character. Three, it reminds us non-binary people who do want to be able to shapeshift that it's okay to not be able to, it's fine. And four, it humanises non-binary people, which is great because, as I said in my should you, can you write non-binary monsters, aliens and cyborgs, robots, whatever I said it was, I can't remember now. It was like 2 years ago. As I said in that video, the solution to being able to do the stuff that you want that can be potentially harmful by making us less than human or othering us from humanity is just to include a human version of us. So like, it is easier to include a non-binary character who is human if you have humans. Whatever your like default species is in your novel, include a non-binary character who is that, and include the non-binary character who can shapeshift, because if you do both, then you are making sure that the reader understands that it's not just shapeshifting aliens who can be non-binary, it's people, just like you, just like me, people. And it just makes things a little bit easier for us. And if you want to read an example of a non-binary character in a published piece of media, get your hands on this bad boy. Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse is my debut fantasy novel. It's got action, adventure, heavings of magic, and a delightful, slow burn, heartwarming romance. It is available now, including in paperback copies. Did I sign this one? No, I did not. I signed a different copy and I don't know where it is. All of the links for where to find it and me are listed below. We have 2 non-binary characters in this book, that's right, 2 of them, who both use different sets of pronouns to each other. One of them is a major character, one of them is a random side character. This is a perfect example of how to include 2 non-binary characters in your manuscript. And if you want to support me and this channel and what I do here, please consider clicking the link to my Ko-fi account, which can also be found in the description, via the like and subscribe buttons if you want to stick around. Bye. Can you hear the cat? I just have so many of these lying around.